Gear Tasting Radio is brought to you by Imminent Threat Solutions. ITS provides knowledge that empowers individuals with indispensable skill sets to explore the world and prevail against all threats. Right now, as a special thank you for all podcast listeners, we're offering 10% off in the ITS store. Simply use the code GTR to save 10% at store.itstactical.com. Welcome to Gear Tasting Radio, where we offer an in-depth look into the usage and philosophy behind the equipment in our lives. I am joined today by Rob Henderson, as always, and I'm Brian Black. Today we are going to talk about capturing your world. So the topic today that we wanted to talk about is a lot of us deal with a lot of inputs and outputs in our lives, meaning we take a lot in, we put a lot out, whether that's in the form of, oh crap, I got to do this, or I forgot to do that. Everyone has their own ways of managing their to-dos or what they have to do in life, and we wanted to talk today a little bit more in depth about the process behind that. We've talked a little bit in the past about the gear we use to kind of do that, but we really wanted to focus today more on the process rather than the gear, even though this is Gear Taste Radio, and we will talk about gear. It's inevitable. Yeah. But at the same time,
it's a deep dive.
Yes, this is more of a deep dive into the philosophy aspect.
We're peeling back layers of the onion.
Yes. So, and that really kind of to start all this is, you know, Rob and I both subscribe to the whole getting things done process, and I've been using GTD for the better part of, I don't know, I'm probably inflating this a bit, but probably 15 years at least.
It gets longer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Last time it was 10 years, now it's 15 years. It's been a long time. Anyway, long enough to have not remembered the way I used to do it before. Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's really just to give you a brief rundown of GTD. That's basically a style created by David Allen that allows you to pretty much determine the next action for everything that you have to do, to break things down into smaller steps that you can get things done a lot easier with. Mm-hmm. So rather than, this is my example I always use, rather than write down clean the garage, it's really a bunch of small steps that bring you to the overall goal of cleaning the garage. So it would really be, hey, take these clothes to Goodwill and get rid of them first, and then so on and so forth. So it's those small steps that basically make up that larger goal that you're trying to accomplish. Yeah. So, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about, is how you take those things that you see on a daily basis and put them into a system and get them processed and turn them into things that don't overwhelm you. Right. And that you're able to handle.
Well, and I think this is something everybody's doing, whether they're conscious of it or not.
Absolutely.
You know, when you see a thing and you go, I want to do something with that thing, then you either file away mentally, or you take notes on it, or you take a picture of it, or you do whatever in order to act on it. And so I think whether or not you use GTD or any of the software tools or whatever, you're still doing this process. You know, like, oh, I need to get somebody a birthday gift. Whether it happens all in your head or on paper, it doesn't matter. It's still the same, I don't know, philosophy.
Yeah, and the big thing is to get it out of your head. And that's one of the big problems that the whole GTD system likes to say that they take care of, which you have to trust the system. And that's the whole goal of GTD, is that you put your trust into the system that you're going to process these things and review them on a regular basis, so they don't keep clouding your mind. Because that little nagging thought of, oh, I got to clean the garage, well, that becomes such a burden on you, because every day you park in the garage and you walk past the mess that's in the garage, you're like, oh, I got to clean that. Oh, I got to clean that. Right. So it's that nagging thought, and by the time that's happened a bunch of times, you almost get to the point where you're ignoring it because it's such a pain in the ass that you keep thinking about it. So.
Or the age-old excuse is, well, I don't have time. Right. Well, it's, okay, do you not have the time, or do you not know the next thing you need to do? Because it could be as simple as, like, take the box of garbage bags that's under the kitchen sink and put them in the garage. Okay, done.
That takes just did 2
something.
seconds.
Yeah, you just did something to help you move that forward. So I think a lot of people almost take comfort in, like, keeping it at bay or keeping in a dark cloud in their head, like dust bunnies, where they're like, oh, well, you know, it'll get to it one day.
Well, and that's the big thing that I hope that I can convey with this podcast, is amongst the other times that we talk about this, is that everybody has aspirations and goals in life of things they want to do, and if you can spend just a few minutes every day doing one thing that moves you closer to that goal, by the end of a year or by the end of 6 months or even a month, you're that much closer to accomplishing that than you were before.
Yep.
And a lot of people get intimidated. Well, I don't know how to do something like that. I don't know how to reach that goal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about reaching the goal.
Right.
It's about having the goal
Yeah.
and taking the steps to reach the goal.
Yep.
So that's really what I hope is clear by this point. But yeah, I mean, I've subscribed to that for a long time. It's helped me accomplish a lot in life, and I'm sure, I don't know how you feel with that too. But
I think GTD helps just because, and not just GTD, just the whole mindset of like, and what I wrote down was like, you have the idea, you capture the idea, and then you process the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the third part, processing it, is the most important, because I think a lot of times people will take pictures. I think, I don't use it a lot, but I know Pinterest is a super big, like, bedding ground for this, where you just save a bunch of stuff that you want to do, and then you never look at it again.
Right.
And so if you don't take the time to actually go through and look at it, you're just creating another garage to clean in the back of your mind, and you're just separating it out, and you're just moving around your stress. And so if you take notes down and then you never actually process them or think about them, then you might as well just not take the note.
So where I'm guilty of, just to kind of be super transparent with how GTD affects me too, where I get into ruts with the system is that I will process stuff. So I'll capture it, I'll put it in the system, I'll come back to it, I'll then distill it into these actions that I need to take, and then I don't do anything with it.
Yep.
So they stall, I don't take action on the actions, and it just becomes this huge thing, this holding cell of these nice, tidy next actions that I haven't done anything.
It's super organized.
Yeah. So, and I've tried battling that. So I've tried setting due dates for myself. I've tried doing more regular reviews, and that doesn't work. And I have felt the biggest thing that I've been able to do is the date specific stuff.
Yep.
Because when I put something on there with a due date and it gets transferred back to my calendar, I've been in this mindset of treating the calendar like law, meaning that if it goes on the calendar, that has to get done that day, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So when I do stuff like that, which is few and far between, I don't do that with a lot of stuff because I'm hesitant to do that, more because I know that I have to do it once it's there.
Right.
I have that in my subconscious, I guess, that I have to do that stuff. So I've been hesitant to put more stuff on there, but when it's there, it does get done. So that's been my somewhat way of relieving that. But
sure.
It's more or less, and it comes back down to, I guess, the time burden. And I'm not making the time excuse because I know I have the time to do it. Yeah. It's the amount of time because I don't do it on a regular basis that intimidates me. Yeah, sometimes.
Absolutely.
So
I was gonna say if I had a GTD weakness, it would be reviews.
Yeah.
It's that, and if you're just now getting into GTD, reviews are, yes, you've done all the work, you've categorized everything. Now you need to go back and look at it, and it's one of the most important parts of the process because, like you said, you can't really trust the system unless you know what's in it. And so reviews always help me know what's in it. But when you truly put basically your life and the things you have to do into this system, it gets big. There's a lot of projects. There's a lot of stuff that you want to look at. Even I have large lists of like things I want to do for fun. And I never thought it would be a burden to look at a list of things I want to do for fun.
Yeah.
But I think that something I've had really good luck with is breaking down reviews based off of like context. So like I'm going to look at things I want to do for fun. That's what I'm going to review today, and that's what I'm going to go through, and I'm not going to review anything else. And that has kind of helped. But
that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, and so
it's almost like a micro review, like you're
exactly.
saying, I'm just going to review the stuff that I want to do for fun.
I'm gonna break it down into little pieces.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to like the beginning, where you capture the idea. You either write it down or you take a picture, or you do whatever, and then you like work through what you want to do with that thing. And so I think it's really helpful to, I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, well, I only want to do this for work. And I think GTD is very hard to kind of separate because if half of your life is super organized and the other half is super chaotic, it gets kind of at odds with itself. And I find it really nerdy, but also really fulfilling to like, I'm going to track, I need to send somebody a birthday gift, and like, yeah, it sounds like a lot of work, but at the same time, it's a less stressful item than like running to the store in the middle of the night because you forgot.
Oh, I agree. And if you take anything from what we're saying and you look into this method at all, just taking a task and breaking it into the smaller next actions you need to take to achieve that goal or project to completion is huge. Like if you're taking nothing else but that, meaning like if you're going to take a list and just like you're saying, let's say you needed to send a birthday gift. Well, there's a lot of steps involved in that, whether we know it or not.
Right.
So just having that nagging thought of sending a birthday gift is a big burden. So let's say it's brainstorming what to get grandma for her birthday.
Sure.
So that's a step. You have to figure out what you want to get. Then let's say you do come up with what you want to get her. It's, let's say, go to Hallmark and buy grandma a
gravy boat.
The gravy boat. Yeah. Perfect. The gravy boat. So now I gotta run an errand. I have to physically get in the car and I have to go somewhere and I have to go pick this up for her. And then I have to make sure that I have a box that's gonna fit in. Do I have wrapping paper?
Right.
Am I also gonna buy a card while I'm at Hallmark? Do I need to stop someplace different to get a card? I mean, there's a huge list of things that we subconsciously think about because they're all important steps to send grandma a gift. But it's until you kind of map those out on a piece of paper, you really don't understand the breadth of what you're tackling or the smaller steps that you can do. So maybe you're not going to knock all that out at once. Maybe it's, hey, I'll run to Hallmark on my lunch break. It'll only take 20 minutes.
Right.
I'll be in and out, and then I'll have that part done. And then next I got to get that wrapping paper out of the attic. And, you know.
Well, and so, like, you immediately triggered like synapses in my brain.
Triggered?
Yeah. So the brainstorming step helps because like I would choose a place like Hallmark because I know they have gifts, cards, boxes, and wrapping paper.
Yes.
So, I want to get grandma this. Okay, well, let's find out if Hallmark has gravy boats because if they do, I can get all of it done at once and I don't have to break it into like a bunch of steps if it's a specific thing. But if you just spend a few minutes planning it on the front end, you can save yourself a lot of headache by being like, oh, I completely forgot to get a box. Well, if you'd have thought about it when you were clear and able to think.
Hallmark has gift wrapping service.
Yeah, done. Yeah. And so I think a lot of this boils down to doing your thinking time when you're able to think. Because, for me, like 4:30 p.m. is when my brain is like, no, I'm not creative right now. But in the morning, it's like, yes, I'm ready to go.
Well, a lot of people don't build in time to think.
Yeah.
That's a funny statement.
Sure.
But it's very true, especially in the age we live in where we're just flipping through our phones all day long.
Right.
Like the amount of time that we actually sit down and brainstorm or think about our life or what's going on in general is few and far between for most people these days. I'm super guilty of that too. It's tough for me to just sit down and take a break. So what I've done just personally is that I've made myself take breakfast as a way to brainstorm or think. So I will specifically either, if I really don't want to be thinking at that time, if it's just not going to happen that day, I'll read a book.
There you go.
So, and I'll make breakfast and do that. So I'll either sit on the back porch if it's nice enough, and I'll make myself brainstorm that for a while and think about things. And, I've got my phone out there because I'm taking notes in it, but I'm not like scouring Instagram while I'm doing that. It's purposely there for taking notes when I think about things like that. Or I'll just take a notebook with me and a pen, which we can get in notebooks in a second. I know we want to talk about that, but that's my time kind of for reflection. So if things are going on in my head that I haven't captured yet, I capture them. If there's things that I need to think through, I'll usually do that. And I'll sometimes specifically schedule myself things to think about during that time. So I'll make myself a note, whether it's in my notebook or OmniFocus or something like that, to pop back into my inbox, so to speak, whenever I'm there that morning doing that. So that's been my time to kind of reflect on that stuff too. And it doesn't happen every day. I mean, I will say that.
Sure.
But it's probably like 4 out of the 5 days of the week that I do that. So
that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and I know we're kind of all over the board a little bit, and it may be tough to understand for people that don't get OmniFocus, or I'm sorry, getting things done. But overall, like you said, it's taking the idea or inspiration and capturing that, and then coming back and processing it into those next actions, and
Yep.
then putting those actions into a trusted system that you're going to come back and review
Yep.
so that they get done and they don't fall off the radar. So that's kind of the workflow. And when it comes down to the idea and inspiration part, I briefly touched on that. You got to set aside time to have those kind of ideas and inspiration, because it doesn't hit all the time. I mean, it could hit any time, honestly. It could hit when you're driving in the car.
And that's the deal, is that
Yeah.
ideas happen anytime.
Yeah.
And I think capturing can happen anytime, because I capture stuff when I'm brain dead. Like I'll read I'll see an article and I'll go, I want to read that. I can't read that right now.
Right.
It's too much. So I want to capture that article and I'll process it later. And so whatever you use to do that, whether you send an email link to yourself or whatever, but like however you choose to do it, it has to be fast. And that's one of the things, like you talked about notebooks. That's why I prefer a physical notebook over my phone for notes,
Yep.
because it's still faster. And my phone's pretty quick, but like I have to pull it out, open the notes app. I either have to title the note or just start typing. But with a notebook, I can literally just start writing. I can sketch, I can draw, whatever, and then think about it later.
Yep.
So notebooks are great. That's, we talked about EDC before, like carrying a notebook and a pen. I think having a pen on you is just a great idea, because I'm writing all the time when I'm in public, signing stuff or whatever, and I like using my pen.
Well, I also don't like to pick up a community pen that's been drooled over
Right.
either.
It's got a big flower on it.
God, those drive me
Like,
insane.
okay, I've got my own.
I'm not going to steal your pen.
Right.
You don't need to put a big flower on it.
This
Yeah.
is not anti-theft.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a big germaphobe, but if there's ways I can avoid to touch things that hundreds of people have touched in the same day, I do.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I'm not adverse to shaking anybody's hand or anything like that, but I don't know. When it comes to like community stuff,
Yeah.
it's the same reason I wash my hands in the bathroom. Like there's people that don't, and there's people that do.
I
and
have
fall
lots
into
of
the
my
camp.
own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the pen and the notebook is standard issue when it comes to my daily carry for sure.
And honestly, I use my phone a lot for capturing, but more for pictures. I take pictures of more stuff, including text now.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much faster to just say, like the other day, I needed to get a phone number for like a handyman or something. And I was over at my fiance's dad, and I just took the picture of the phone number. Because I could write it down, but I'll just take the picture, and later I'll look at the picture, and I can transcribe from there. And it's just so much faster to do things that
Did you
way.
say transcribe?
Transcribe. No, transcribe. I
Transcribe.
went a little fast. My brain was going faster than my mouth. But yeah, it's easier for me to transcribe it later
Yeah.
and then think about it. And so the camera has helped tremendously.
So I have a pretty big daily checklist
Yeah.
that I have in Evernote, and I have its little check boxes that I reset every day, and
Yep.
it's super OCD, but I do it anyway. And one of the things that's in there in my daily checklist is processing my photos in my iPhone, and that's going through what I've taken during the day and putting them into folders, which
Wow.
I insanely have created. And
That is
I
dedication.
know it's horrible. But anyway, then there's also processing the information that I need out of those photos. So meaning, like you said, if there's like text that I took a photo of, I'll take that and I'll put that information into OmniFocus, and I'll even sometimes attach the photo into the OmniFocus task, because you can do that in there.
Yep.
You can put that attachment in there, which I love, just for reference. And then sometimes it's just information that I needed to think about for a second, and then I delete the photo. So if it's not a photo that I want to archive, that I really care about, I delete it. I don't even care about it anymore. So I'll do that too. But, our photos are becoming such a huge, photos on our phone are becoming such a huge part of our lives now. It's, what we have with us all the time. It's where we have our funniest moments and our, our conversations with people now. And it's just, it's crazy what it's become. And, that's why I take the time to catalog that stuff, because I do want to go back and reference it.
Good idea.
And I'm able to do that because even though that Apple has now developed this crazy search algorithm within photos where you can find stuff based on keywords that aren't really even in the photos, which is insane to me.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It still doesn't work like I want it to.
Nah.
So I still find that I need to categorize those things. So
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah.
So the other half of this is I had written down tools to process, and so OmniFocus is the big one if you're into getting things done and you have a Mac. It's like we keep like alienating huge swaths of people because it's like, if you like getting things done and you have a Mac and you're super OCD about this is for you.
Yeah.
But OmniFocus is great. There's Todoist and Wunderlist for PC. And I think there's some online options now.
There's even, I think that David Allen has even got guides for using like Outlook.
Yeah.
Like an email program to run GTD out of.
Yeah, so if you're one of those people that's like forced to use Outlook for your job, there's hope. You can
and there's other things. You can use Evernote too. I know I briefly mentioned that. That's cross-platform compatible. And I use Evernote more as a file drawer.
Yeah,
almost.
like reference.
Yeah, so it's more of a reference thing for me. So I put a lot of my notes and things like that in it. So like I track what I do at the gym. I'll just have a rough guideline of kind of what I did that day, and that's part of my daily process is to write that down in Evernote and create a new document for that, just because I track it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do it, because I really don't ever go back and look at my gains or anything like that. It's just kind of
there.
It's just kind of
one
a,
day you might.
reference. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's good to have the data.
Yeah. But I do that because it only takes me a few seconds because I'm very brief about it. I don't get super descriptive, and it's more based on memory anyway. It's not like I sit there and do it at the gym because I try not to have my phone with me at the gym at all when I'm working out. So whether that's at home or the actual physical gym. So that's kind of one of the things I do too with Evernote. And then I think that those are kind of the main platforms that GTD is able to handle. But I mean, you can really even use index cards.
Sure.
So
you can use paper-based.
I think
or whatever.
that's in the book too. If you read Getting Things Done by David Allen, I think he goes through a paper-based system.
Yeah, he does.
So
it's like the OmniFocus just works because it just helps with the system. It's not like you have to have OmniFocus to do getting things done. But the 3 programs I use the most are OmniFocus, email, and then a calendar. And the way that I view them is like OmniFocus is for me, email is for you, and then calendars for like everybody. So like I email if I need something from someone else versus like OmniFocus is just me, like getting grandma's birthday gift. I don't really need to do anything with that unless I need to ask a family member or something, hey, what do you think we should do for this? Is it a joint gift or whatever? So I'll use email for that. And then calendars, like you said, this is happening on this date. It's for sure. So-and-so's coming over for lunch, you know, whatever. Stuff you can't break. It's a hard date.
Time-specific actions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so I've with email, I've used a ton of different mail clients. I used Mailbox for a long time, and then they shut that down. That was a sad day for everybody.
Yeah.
But
rest in peace, Mailbox.
So I've started a new goal. I'm not snoozing email anymore.
That's insane.
I know.
Are you serious?
Yes. So I started looking at it on a whole perspective, and email to me, your email inbox, and this is going to get a little nerdy with GTD. He talks about collection buckets, and your email inbox is a collection bucket.
Right.
And so by snoozing an email, you're just really using a fancy feature of a collection bucket rather than emptying it. So basically, what you end up doing is you're just taking something out of the bucket to put it back in later. Versus what I'm actually doing now, and it's really the same process, but like if I need to follow up on this email, then I should put an OmniFocus task to follow up on the email. And if it needs to be on a specific date, then I should set it for that date in my OmniFocus system, which is my real system. Versus like what I find myself doing is not hiding emails, but like I will deal with this email tomorrow, and then I just snooze it until tomorrow. But what it ends up being is it's just dropping into my inbox every morning, and it's like I can't do this anymore.
It's like the cat that came back the very next day.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've switched to doing that, which actually helps because I can now use Apple's default mail app because they don't have a snooze function.
You're not wrong.
I know.
I'll just put that out there because I don't know what I'd do without my snooze.
I agree,
dude. That's tough. Like I'm processing that in my brain right now.
I've been on it for about a week, and it's been extremely difficult to like break that habit because it's just a quick swipe. You're like, I'm gonna snooze this.
Man, I don't know. That's tough. I honestly, why it's so tough for me is because I live in my inbox.
Right.
Meaning that's where anything that's going wrong will come, or anything that's, very important will come. It's all through email. So it's tough for me to, I guess, I don't know, disengage with it like that, even
Sure.
though it's not really disengaging.
Right.
It's, I don't know. Because, so here's here would be the tough part for me. So let's say it's Friday evening at 5 p.m. or something. I'm getting ready to leave for the day. It's about to be the weekend.
Sure.
And I get some email that I know I need to do something with, but there's no way in hell I'm going to do anything with it on the weekend because it's work related and it's not really super important, but it can wait until Monday.
Right.
So now I either have to snooze that until hold on, no.
Yeah.
This is what I do. Snooze it until Monday.
Okay.
And then I'll look at it Monday and not have to think about it the whole weekend. Or I can, I guess your philosophy would be, or your new way of doing this would be to take that into an action in OmniFocus to say, reply to email from so-and-so on Monday and put it as a calendar reminder? No?
I just leave it.
No.
Why not?
You can't do that.
Why?
Because it's in your it's crowded.
You clear your inbox on the weekends?
No.
So why do you care if it's in your inbox?
Well, maybe I do. I snooze stuff, so it does clear it.
So, but my thing is like, usually what I'll end up doing is if I need to check email personally, then I'll...
So you just let it stack up?
Yeah. I just process it on Monday. Or I look at it, and if it's something I need to deal with right then, I'll deal with it. Otherwise, I just let it sit till Monday.
So I have had times like that. I mean, I've, gotten a bunch of emails that come in. I'm like, yeah, I'll deal with that later. Nothing super important. And it is kind of freeing to do that in a sense, too. So
the other thing I did,
I can
and
see that.
You've done this in the past, I took my badge app icons off
Oh, yeah, those are gone.
of email. So it stops bothering me.
Yeah.
And so when I've read an email, it's read. So when I get a badge app notification, there's an unread email. And I'll click into that, and now it's actually unread.
I don't even do that.
Well, it's helped me because now I know if I've read all the emails. So if I do see it, I'm like, oh, I got a new email. Otherwise, I'll like the way that I was doing it previously is every message in my inbox gave a badge alert, whether I'd read it or not. And that was part of my, I don't know, it's just changing up my email workflow.
Yeah,
and
I see that.
It's kind of been helpful. You probably get a lot more email than I do, though. So over the weekend, you may come into a lot more emails.
Yeah. I mean, typically over the weekend and coming back on Monday, I'll have, if I don't snooze them and if I don't deal with something over the weekend, which, that's kind of my curse because I sometimes work over the weekend when I don't want to be, but I do anyway. I'll come into, 50 freaking emails I have to do something with on Monday, and that's just...
So snoozing makes sense for you.
Yeah, it does. Right. It does. But, I can see your side of it, too.
Yeah,
so.
It's just something I've been... Also, like, as with everything, GTD, productivity, trying whatever, I'm trying it.
Yeah.
It may not work. And that's one of the things I love that David Allen says is that he calls it productivity porn, where you're experimenting with a new labeling system and you never thought you could be so excited about how you're labeling stuff. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's too much time. Maybe you're spending too much effort on it and you switch to something else. But it's just kind of a good idea for me to switch things up every once in a while when it comes to like the whole process.
I agree. Well, I mean, it's definitely given me some things to think about too, just from this conversation. So it's interesting you're experimenting with the snooze thing. And for those of you that don't know, snoozing is a feature of
we should have gone into that.
Yeah, clients like airmail. So Mailbox was notorious for that. Mailbox came around when really all we had was Apple Mail and Gmail and things like that. I think what was the one that Mozilla developed?
Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, yeah. So those are like the three, I guess, main mail clients. And then Mailbox came around and created this huge buzz because you could snooze emails. And we're like, what is snoozing an email? Well, it's taking an email out of your inbox and setting a reminder of when you want it to pop back in.
And it's basically re-delivering it.
Yeah, right. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to see it until the time that you desire, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next week, whether it's next month.
You could set it random too.
Yeah.
Like, hey, remind me about this sometime.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is that it works so well that you didn't have to think about it. It was just not even on your radar. You could always go back into your snoozed list of the emails that are snoozed if you had to reference something you knew you'd received.
Yep.
But that was a big deal. And then everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon. Eventually, Mailbox got big enough to where Dropbox bought them and then completely...
They just turned it off.
They just turned it off.
They killed it.
Yeah, Dropbox bought them and killed them, which I don't understand because... I guess they were trying to buy the technology. I'm not sure what they were doing.
I have no idea.
Because it's not like Dropbox had a competing mail client, and they still don't have a mail client. So I don't really get it.
You never know. They want the engineering team, some underlying patent or something. Who knows?
Maybe.
But they shut it down.
Yeah.
And it bummed a lot of people out.
Yeah.
But ever since then, there hasn't really been a client that stacks up for me.
Maybe it's a follow the money thing. Maybe somebody was paying them to buy it and disable it. I don't know.
Drama.
Who knows? But now, what isn't Gmail doing something like that now?
Gmail has Inbox, which I have tried to use.
Right, and they have a snooze feature.
Yep. Spark, Polymail, Airmail, tons of different apps have all introduced the snooze feature. Apple has not done the snooze feature.
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised. I figure Apple would have lifted that, 2 versions ago, but they haven't. But yeah, so I mean, most email clients you download are going to give you a snooze feature now, so you can just have it come in later, and you can specify like what time to deliver them at, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever. You say like, hey, all the stuff you snooze for tomorrow. Tomorrow means next day at 8 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, it's been good. I've enjoyed it. You have given me some things to think about, though, so I will take that. I will take that into my morning brainstorming session while I'm eating breakfast and think long and hard about that. All right, thanks for listening to Gear Tasting Radio. Remember, if you have questions, use the pound tag Gear Tasting on a social media network, and we'll find them and get them answered here on the show. And I promise we will be doing a question episode soon.
We'll put it on the calendar.
Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts so you can be the first to know when we release a new episode each Tuesday. Also, while you're on iTunes, be sure to help the show by leaving a 5-star review. Why? Why are we asking you for a 5-star review? Are we worth it? Well, it helps expose the podcast to more potential listeners, which in turn gets our podcast kind of up front and in the face of more people, helps it grow. So we would very much appreciate it. If you don't enjoy what we're doing enough to leave a 5-star review, please send us an email to support@itstactical.com.
Send us a 3-star email. Not a review.
And let us know what we can do better. Honestly, we love feedback.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Send it in. Last but not least, check out our Patreon page where you can contribute on a monthly basis to help us produce content. Visit patreon.com/itstactical, and we will give you back something in return for your support. So thanks for listening, and see you next week.